I want to talk about Draymond Green right now.
Let's go. Bring it.
I want to talk about Draymond Green right now.
Bring it. I want to hear this.
This is the most classic. Like, you remember, no matter if you're a man, you say women. If you're a woman, you say man. Like, the whole women can't live with them, can't live without them. Draymond Green can't live with him, can't live without him. So you choose. You want to live with him, or you want to live without him?
With him, 100%.
100%.
100%.
Okay. Why?
Because what I saw last night in the second half of that game was two guys in Steph Curry and Draymond Green that threw everything out of the window about the off-the-court stuff and were playing the purest form of basketball I've seen them play in a long time, where they were like kids again, where they didn't have all the drama and all the money and all the rings and all the off-court stuff. They just started playing like the most purest form of 3-on-3 basketball at the playground, even though it was just those two, with what they did in the second half and how Draymond was aggressive and inserted himself and went to the rack, and him and Steph were playing their own little game together. That was beautiful, man. And that they went back to someplace they were 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago when they were hungry to get the contracts and to get the championships. And I don't know what inspired that. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in the locker room at halftime. I don't know what happened because they were kind of sleepwalking in the first half. But whatever Draymond and Steph did in the second half was literally the most beautiful thing I've seen with that team all season.
I tell you what,
it was pure.
It was great. And Steve Kerr went from the word that got everybody going late last week on our show, calling it unforgivable on a Wednesday. And then the word after last night was genius. Kept calling him a genius. All right, so what do you do? I like the whole thing this is another, to me, this is why there's that old adage of don't make decisions based on emotion. When you're mad at your boss, go home. Don't go to the boss's office. Go home.
I need to work on that.
Get food, get sleep, come back the next day. You still feel it? Now we can have a conversation.
Yeah, but you guys get paid to react and have your opinions real time.
No. I'm not saying don't react and all of that. What I'm saying is anybody who spent Thursday and Friday screaming about how Draymond Green is no longer welcome on the Warriors and the big changes that Joe Lacob has talked about, and Steph was crying and Steve Kerr called it unforgivable, and we all believe that they have made a decision today in the offseason to move on from Draymond Green. And then you see this on a Sunday, and it's like, okay, now what? Do you still feel that way? Because, it may not make any sense. It may not even be possible. It very likely, if you were to make a deal in the offseason, because he still does have games like that in him, does he have value around the league? Probably. But if you made a deal, it's probably going to be a bad one. But what you would get back, it's probably going to be a bad deal. So I really wonder, and Tim Kawakami is going to join us here in a couple hours, and he's got an article about this very, very thing today in The Athletic, and we've been thinking about it too all morning. You got to be very, very careful with this idea of acting on your emotion. Can you actually make the point? Forget your emotion. I'm so done with Draymond Green. Forget your emotion. Can you make the basketball and team organization opinion make sense to me that the Warriors should move on from Draymond Green and they will be a better organization for it?
If he does what he did last night or yesterday, whatever, on a consistent basis and plays like that on a consistent basis, I don't know if he was going to play the last 10 games of the year and make them think about it, and I'm going to atone for all my sins. I have no idea. But if he plays like that consistently, I need him. I need him on this team. It's like I had this thing I texted you, April Fools or April Facts. Was yesterday April Fools with him, or was that facts? What was it yesterday?
Well, he's always had games like that. Not all the time.
Not like that's that. Always that was different. Finishing. Okay, so he has clear layups and he passes to somebody all the time. But he was going to. I'm scoring, right, and I'm going to change the whole dynamic of this game by myself in the third quarter. And he got on a roll, and it was beautiful. Okay, so Grandy brought this up. Do you guys believe that effort was in some way speaking directly to what had happened earlier in the week? No, I think for some reason they found something they haven't had in a long time. And they played basketball at its simplest form with the pick and roll and the give and go and two guys playing for the love of the game all of a sudden. They're just playing because they loved it. It looked like they loved it.
Yeah,
when at times this year, we're playing, we're pros, we're going to give you a good effort. But we have so much. We have 4 rings. We have all the money. We have the big house, beautiful family. Got everything. Like, where do you go to get motivated on a daily basis when you have everything? You sign the big contract. Human nature is to take a deep breath and be like, I've arrived. And when you have all the accolades, all the accomplishments of these guys, where do they go on a Tuesday night or on a Sunday against the San Antonio Spurs? In the first half, they were sleepwalking. They're like, wait a minute, they can't lose this game. Wembanyama was having his way. He was dunking from 5 feet out. He's making 3-pointers.
He's insane.
He's like Slender Man. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like that guy's amazing.
He's
20 years old.
And just turned 20.
Yeah, and Fitz loves him. He has a crush on him, like a man crush on him. He talked about.
Well, I mean,
I can see why.
I kind of get it. I kind of get it. He's dunking from the free throw line without jumping.
Yeah. So, but getting back to my point, and it just hit me today when I was rewatching the game, that all of a sudden those two guys were just playing basketball, like on a playground somewhere. It wasn't those two went back to being 22 years old all of a sudden.
But why last night?
I don't know. Maybe because it was the opponent. Maybe somebody said, like, look, it's the Spurs. They're 18-56, and they're hanging around. Like, what are we doing? Do we want this? Do we not want this? Like, well, what are we doing? Was it Steve? I don't know. Did somebody jump on him at halftime? Because the way they came out of the locker room in the third quarter, I mean, they've done it a couple times this year, but Draymond specifically was like, whoa. And if he's that guy, they need him.
We'll take your calls, 888-957-9570. Grandy, you do think that was directly because of what had happened earlier in the week?
Well, it popped into my mind.
Yeah.
It was one of his best games, and I can remember in a handful of years now.
It was incredible.
And all the conversation late last week after Steve Kerr told you and Dibs that what Draymond did in Orlando was unforgivable, and all the conversation was, well, what does his future hold now with the Warriors? Maybe he was like internally motivating himself by saying, I'm going to remind you why you guys need me here still.
Yeah.
And last night was that.
But at the same time, that's why he is so infuriating. Like, I'm not calling it this, so this is a big word. This is an analogy. I am not saying this about Draymond Green. The sports, very light, it's fun, yay sports, sports version of an abusive relationship. That's what it is. Right? In your life, someone near you or you've experienced this, that can't live with them, can't live without them sort of thing. And whatever that abusive thing is that they're doing, then as soon as you're like, all right, that's it, it's unforgivable, I'm out of here, boom, they pull you can't live without me, and here's why.
Or I'm sorry, and that'll never happen again.
Right.
And you're like, oh.
Only to have the cycle start over again. And so,
but then in that relationship, they have a really good game in the third quarter.
Right. And they pull you back. And this is why people don't leave. It's why people don't leave an abusive relationship, because there's something there that's holding them there. So I would just say this in the whole, like, Draymond Green, can you live with him? Can you live without him? I would argue that everything we've experienced over the last week does not lead to Draymond Green being in a different uniform next year. I think he's still a Warrior. However, if I were the Warriors, this is what I would do. I would stop letting this discipline or whatever that big brother is to Draymond Green, I would stop letting that person be the league. I would stop letting that person be the refs. And you need to start having it be you. The Warriors have played this the same way every time. The league suspends him. The refs give him a tech. And we sit there and we go, this can't happen. This is unforgivable. And now let's announce our starting lineup for tomorrow night's game. Number 23, Draymond Green. All right, he's a genius. Did you see what he did out there? And it's just this cycle of you misbehave, we say stop misbehaving, and then the very next day, there's no punishment whatsoever. The Warriors need to be in ultimatumville with Draymond Green going forward and let him know that the next time you make Steph Curry cry, we are suspending you. We are not letting you come on the court.
That was my exact take when that happened.
Yeah.
I just didn't have a show to say that.
It's
on Steve Kerr and the Warriors to finally...
The whole organization. You can't just put it on Steve. That puts Steve in a terrible spot.
It was such a different level because of Steph's reaction the other night. Like, yeah, Draymond got kicked out again 3 minutes left, 4 minutes into the first quarter, whatever it was, and you're just like, uncle on all this. And then you saw Steph's reaction, and that took us all to a different level. And I think more importantly, Mark, than can we live with him or live without him, it's the people in that room. Can they live with him? And I think that's the biggest question you got to answer. It's like, are they scared of him? Is he that much of a presence where if you go address him, he's going to snap on you and he's you got to tiptoe around him. And then the worst thing you can have as a teammate is you don't know what you're getting on a certain day. Like, or even like if you're going to work with somebody, like, are they going to be in a good mood today? Right. Are they going to be in a bad mood today? Can I go up to them and approach them? They had a good game yesterday and they're going to be happy. They had a bad game yesterday. I got to be careful because that sucks the energy out of the room. And if you're tiptoeing around somebody and you're worried how they're going to react to how I talk to them, how I react to what they did last night, sometimes you get to a place where you're almost untouchable. Like, he can do whatever he wants. I'm scared to go up to him because if I do go up to him, he's going to snap on me. So we're all just going to stay back and lay back and let him do his thing. I'm sure there's been, air quote, interventions with him. Like, we need you. We need you on the court. If we're going to do this again, we need you. You can't do this. You have to control your emotions. He went away for 16 games or whatever it was, came back, and then it happened again. And you could see it building. You could see I couldn't believe how demonstrative he was with refs before that game. I'm just like, dude, you haven't learned your lesson. Like, this is going to happen again. You are screaming and yelling, and you're not walking away. And one of these refs is going to have enough, and you're going to be gone.
Yeah, except for I would argue he is not as powerful as he used to be. And it has nothing to do with him changing. It has to do with the circumstances around the Warriors changing. The power of, we're going to suspend you during the KD interaction, and he gets mad at the organization, or the power when he punches Jordan Poole when you're literally months removed from a parade. The difference is now, what do you got to lose, Warriors? You're the 10 seed, for God's sakes. What's going to happen if you suspend Draymond Green? What? What are you going to do? Fall to 11? Ooh, that's terrifying. There's not nearly as much on the line, right? And so that gives, in my opinion, that gives power to Steph. That gives power to the organization, because the only hope can be that it lands differently with him when it comes from inside the building.
And I think if they have this play-in thing and they keep the 10 seed or wherever they end up, what are they, a game and a half behind the Lakers and two in front of the Rockets?
Yeah.
That you'll see what you saw yesterday with Draymond the rest of the season and into the playoffs.
You'd think.
If they get into the playoffs, April Fools or April Fact. Like, can they